Hi everybody, this is Frilioth and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft on the AlphaCraft server. Today, I've got a bit of a project on today. Now, you've seen me building the nether tunnels and the hub over the last couple of weeks or so, or on streams and whatever. And I need a lot of ice, and I've been running around to cold biomes, and I've just been digging it out of rivers and the sea, and it's not very efficient, and it's time consuming, and it's a pain. Really, so it's about time I built a Frilioth patented ice farm. I'm going to do this just north of spawn. There's a massive ice biome just north of spawn, but I'm going to need quite a lot of equipment. I need 512 observers and 416 pistons and 384 or so activator rails and sticky pistons and all that good stuff, and I don't have it in my box. So as you can see, I don't have all of that. I've only got a few bits and pieces. So what I'm going to do, I'm hoping that somebody over at Spawn sells redstone. And if they don't, I'm in a bit of trouble. So we're going to go over there to start with. And if not, I'm just going to have to go and do some mining. So I don't have, amazingly enough, a lot of redstone. So I've been and got all my stuff. And I broke a pick while I've been doing it, which was quite annoying. But I've managed to get all my obsidians, all my observers, all of my sticky pistons, all my pistons, my repeaters, my activator rails. Although I don't think I'm going to need that many. And it wasn't until I crafted them all that I realised I could probably alternate those between redstone dust and activator rails. And I'll explain that a little bit more later. And then I've got my other redstone box there with the dust on that I found and that sort of stuff. Anyway, I think I've got what I want. So my job now is to go and find a place to build this. Now I've got an idea of where to build it. I've got to make a stop off on the way as well, because I've managed to forget to put back the Ender Slayer, which is the sword we use in our end farm. And yeah, I'm gonna be popular because I forgot to put that back. So we'll go there first because it's on the way, and then we'll go to spawn, and I will fly out north from spawn to the ice spikes biome, and it's in the ice spikes biome that I intend to build the ice farm. So I think we've found our space. Spawn is over that way. I'm just over 1,200 blocks north of spawn, and I found it just off center as well, just off the main cardinal tunnel. So I'm going to build it in here. It's going to be quite a big one, and it's going to be down here. So all the mechanism is going to be, I'm going to dig in the wall a little bit. All the mechanism is going to be here. The ice will form here. It'll all get pushed out this way, pushed up into a massive square, and then we can mine it out with a silk pick. But I am going to have to get rid of a lot of this water. So I'm going to grab some sand. I think I've got my shulker full of sand. So I will grab that, and then I will mark out the area. A piston will push 12 blocks. Which means it will push out 13 blocks, because it will push out the 12th block, which will put it to here, and then it will leave the space behind it. So the pistons will push out 13 blocks out to here, and then 40 blocks, 50 blocks maybe. Can we do 50? Nice round number. Anyway, as far as it is from there down to there, that's going to be full of ice. There's going to be plenty of it. We shouldn't go short, as long as we can AFK here, because ice takes its own sweet time to make, doesn't it? There's just no quick way of doing it. So there will be a lot of AFK being done around here. So anyway, let me grab my shulker of sand. I'll rip out this ice, and then we'll start mapping out the area and then draining this. Is it deep? Yeah. Oh, it's cold. Not too deep. Okay, that's not too bad. Could have been a lot worse. So I'll do that, and then and I'll see you back here in a second. So that's going to be the size of it. I think it's a little bit bigger than I planned, so I may well need a few more resources. Yeah, I think it is just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to I'm going to drain it now out, which is probably going to take me the rest of this evening. If only I got some sponges. If only I got some sponges, or somebody that hired out sponges. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Anyway, I don't, so it's a bit too bad. It's a moot point, as they say. Right, so I've used my first shulker of sand, and I'm going to dig down now. I'm going to have to recycle the sand that's here. So if I dig down 10 blocks, because that's what I'm going to need, at least for some of it anyway, the gubbins at this end of it, I'm probably not going to need 10 blocks all the way across, but it's still got to be drained out. So if I start digging out here and go down 10 blocks from water level, which is the next one up, so that's 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I dig this out, I just know it's going to flood in on me. So that's going to be a thing, no doubt. So now I've cleared out a little bit of a space and put some scaffolding down. I can start putting the redstone in. Now this is going to be open to sky. So this is going to be where the ice is formed on this level here, and the gubbins and redstone is going to be predominantly in the back and just underneath this, and then this is where all of the ice will be pushed. So on this level, the very top level, this one where the ice is going, this is where I'm going to want the pistons. Like that. So when the ice is pushed this way, it's going to get pushed up by these pistons, and they're on the same level as the rest of the ice. And underneath the pistons, we're going to want an observer pointing upwards. So you want the redstone bit pointing upwards. You'll have to trust me. Actually, I'll show you. So there you go. Little redstone bit pointing upwards. And then underneath that, I'm going to need a block there. And then on that line of blocks here, I'm going to be putting down either activator rails or activator rails and redstone dust, depending on which row I am on. So for this one, I'll stick down activator rails. Just a few. I've still got all the redstone to do at the other end here. So like that, and then every time that activator rail either turns on or turns off, it's going to fire that piston. Perfect so far. So as I say, this is where I want the ice to be formed. All of the source blocks of water are going to be here. So I'm going to need the mechanism to start here. So I'm going to need an observer block facing upwards just there. And I'm going to need it the other way around. Obviously. I need to get underneath it. An observer block like that, and then facing up into that. And this, I always say I don't want this to be a full-on tutorial, but it's going to turn out to be a full-on tutorial. I need a sticky piston underneath that, and then I need that. What that observer block is going to do is activate the piston underneath that one. It's not going to activate that one. It would be so much easier if that observer activated that sticky piston, but it won't. It'll activate the one below it. I need to get underneath it. I need to stick a piston there. So that's the sticky piston that observer is going to activate, and then that is going to be activating another observer block, which has got to be facing this way, like that. And then off of the face of that, I'm going to need a slab. It has to be a slab for various reasons I won't bother going into. But it's all about quasi connectivity, and we all love a bit of quasi. Remember, it doesn't work as expected, quasi. I'm going to use wood. I'm going to use wood for this because I can. A lot of this is going to be built out of wood. I know I've built that out of stone, but we're not going to be able to whack any of that. But when you're going at the ice with a really good pick, you're going to mine straight through the stone or anything like that, but you won't through dirt or through wood. So most of this is going to be built out of dirt or wood, just so you don't mine through the stone and let water in and ruin everything. That's why I'm using a little bit of wood here. So I need a slab just there like that, and on top of that slab I'm going to need a repeater. I'm going to almost hear people yelling at me now in chat. Rails, clear your inventory. No. Right, so that goes into a solid block there, and on top of that solid block, or next to that solid block, I'm going to need another sticky piston like that, and on top of that sticky piston facing this way, I'm going to need another observer block. And then next to that observer, I'm going to need a block, and on top of that, I'm going to need another sticky piston. Now these are all needed. If you think I'm just using sticky pistons for the sake of it, then think again, my friend, because that's not the case. These are all needed. And then just there, I'm going to need another block. This is where I could do with jump boost. And on top of that block, I'm going to need another observer. Missing up like that. And on top of this one, I'm going to need a block. That. I'm also going to have to go and sleep. So right next to this observer, I need a block. 3 ticks, I think it is. I think it's got to be 3 ticks, and then that goes into another block like that. And then that has got a normal piston on it. That should be the piston. Yeah, that's the piston that pushes the ice across once the ice is formed. So now back down here again, bit of space. Right, so in here I'm going to need another block there, and then on there I need another repeater on 3 ticks. Now these timers are really important, and I will check them before. Well, actually, I'll check them when I test it, but they have to be on the right tick, because if they're not, it causes a permanent loop. The pistons will either shoot and let go of the block and they won't work, or they'll just continue to loop and it'll just drive you crazy and it won't work as intended. So they have to be on 3 ticks. Now I think that's it. That when the ice forms on there, it's going to activate that observer. It's going to fire that piston down, which is going to move that observer, which will fire that repeater, which will fire that piston up, which will cause that observer to fire that block, which will fire that piston, retracting that observer and also firing that piston out, which will activate that. Anyway, I'm going to bore you doing that. So hopefully if I put a block there now, it'll do that. It'll do that, and I'll look like a genius because it all worked as expected. So a lot of the ice farms, and I think I've mentioned this before when I've done this, a lot of the ice farms, which are great and they do a job, but once the ice is formed, that's it. Nothing else happens. You have to mine it, and the water has to fill back in again before it will even think about making any more ice. With this design, the ice forms and is immediately pushed out of the way. So the water is left there, the source block of water is left there to immediately start to freeze again. You haven't got to wait for people to mine it. It's genius. It's genius. Brilliant. So that's how it works. And also the line of pistons underneath here, those guys there, will automatically push those up out of the way. Now I can't just have that pushing the ice up out of the way, because if I do that, it will cover the source block of water there and then no more ice will form. So it has to be pushed up and then pushed out. Just like that. So here now we need to fill the rest of these bad boys in like that. And like that. And we need a little mechanism underneath the bottom that will activate those once this cycle has finished. And to do that, we're going to be using a sticky piston under here. Just there, which will push a block over a redstone torch. So we need a redstone torch just here. Now we can't, because this is tileable. All of this is tileable. We can have as many of these as we like. So I can't use any redstone dust on here, because if I put dust in here, it's not going to be tileable. And that wasn't the idea when I designed the wasn't the idea when I designed this in the first place. It had to be a tileable farm. This is where I start lobbing everything in the wrong place, which will annoy everybody. So if we have a redstone bit of dust on there, so when that piston fires, when the mechanism fires, that piston will push that block out. Because it's a 1 tick pulse, the sticky piston will leave that block behind. It'll push it from there over to there, and it will leave it, which will power those rails. And then the next time the system fires, it will retract it back, which will unpower those rails. And when they're powered and unpowered, the change in state will be detected by that observer, which will quickly push those pistons out, pushing the ice that's on top of it upwards. And as we know, pistons will push ice 12 blocks, or will push 12 blocks, which means that this ice is going to be 13 blocks high, which is pretty cool. Let me get rid of that. So next to that, I'm going to need another block, and on top of that, I'm going to need that. I'm going to need a repeater that can be on standard just 1 tick. And next to that, I'm going to need a block, and on top of that, I'm going to need a torch. And then there, I'm going to need another block. And there, I'm going to need another torch. Perfect. And then on top of this, I'm just going to need a line of repeaters. 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need to dig out a little bit further, don't I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've only got 10. This will push out 12 blocks for us. I can go out another 2 blocks. Wow. I thought it looked a little bit small. Okay, that's going to be interesting, trying to do that without breaking anything. And then on top of here, I'm going to need normal pistons, like so. And when that gets, and when those blocks get, how many blocks high? 12 blocks. Actually, it's 13 blocks. When those get 13 blocks high, that piston won't be able to fire anymore, so they'll just be pushed over to the next one, and they'll go up 13 blocks. Then they'll get pushed over to the next one, and they'll go up 13 blocks. So eventually, we'll have a massive ice cube. So now I just need to dig that out now. All I need to do now is dig out another 2 blocks and put them in there, and then extend that all the way down there, put a bit of lighting over the back, and then put the source block of water in there. So the source block of water is going to be made out of stairs. So if I put the source block in there and there and there like that. If I waterlog these stairs now, that will make a water source block there. So once that turns to ice, when it gets removed, the water will automatically refill it. If I didn't have these source blocks behind the back and undercover to stop them from freezing, then once the ice was formed, that would be it. It wouldn't work anymore, but those source blocks are going to keep it going. Right. So I decided it was easier to move everything back and dig the wall out rather than try and drain some more of the water. And I think that was probably a decent idea. So I've got to dig this out now, making sure that those 2 blocks there are open to the sky. The rest of it I'll cover up with dirt or rock, or it's probably going to be dirt because of what I said earlier about the pick. So I'll make that look like the side of the mountain again. But these have got to be dug out, otherwise the ice won't form. Now I will dig out the floor later on. I think I'm probably going to put down slabs. If I put down stone brick slabs under here, I won't have to worry about spawn proofing it. Because the last thing I need under here are creepers that are going to blow everything up. And as I say, the beauty of this is it's modular. It's tileable, I can do it, and it's dark o'clock again. Ow. Really should bring my bed down there. But this is what I meant when I said earlier that I could probably run a line of redstone down here and save myself some activator rails. Normally what I do is what I started to do when I originally designed it was run powered rails down here, then activated them, powered, then activated them, powered, then activated, and it was very expensive. But I don't need to do that. It doesn't have to power anything. All it's got to do is activate those observer blocks. So if I have those there like that, and I'm using 2 because it's just a pain trying to put one rail next to another rail like that. It's still pain. So if I use 2 like that, and then I fill the middle in with dust, it does the same job, but costs a fraction of the price. Like that. And then the next row, I can do activator rails again. Being careful not to do that, obviously. And then I can run activator rails again and redstone dust. Like that. Okay, this is where we see whether or not it works. Okay, most of it, nearly all of it. Only a little bit left that doesn't work. I've clearly left. We stuck the pistons there. I knew that. Know that. Like a charm. Okay. So now we know it works. I've just got to work. You're seeing it doesn't matter. I was going to say literally the story then, but it doesn't matter. But you can see that the lines of redstone and activator rails, it doesn't matter whether they're on or off. It's the change in state that powers those pistons, so whether they're on or off, it doesn't make any difference. And because it's not continually flashing, we haven't got to worry about redstone lag. I know that's not as much of an issue now as it used to be. But anyway, let's dig all of this out. I might be able to get most of it done without drain. No, I'm still going to have to drain most of that, aren't I? Yeah, let me get some slabs down on the floor, and then I am going to do the rest of it, and we will have a look at it when I've done. Okay, so that's it. That's the Ice Cube version 2. I'm going to leave it running for a little while. I'm probably going to go AFK for a few hours to see how well it does. And then I'll bring you back in at the very end and we can marvel at its genius and stuff. Still a little bit of work left to do. I've got to get rid of the stone around the outside and get rid of some of the stone. Just tidy it up a little bit. Make it look like it's part of the scenery, really. But and as I say, it's not too far from spawn. It's easy to get here. There's going to be... Oh, look at that. Excellent. It's going to be near another portal because we're very close to the southern tunnel or northern tunnel. Yeah, northern tunnel. So anyway, there you go. I'll be back in a second when it's not so dark and scary. So I've been AFK now for about 3 hours, you give or take, and it's a third full. So I think if I AFK overnight, we should have a full farm of ice. And the farm will hold about 110 stacks of ice when it's completely full. Just under 7,000 pieces of ice when it's full, which should keep us going. The only problem being somebody has to be here to AFK for it to work. It won't work when the chunk is unloaded and it's not close enough to spawn for it to be loaded. And we don't have chunk loaders on the server for various reasons. But I'm loving that. I think it was the right choice to put it in this biome. It doesn't look out of place. It looks fantastic. So once the tunnels are done and I've got no more need for a cajillion tons of ice, maybe I'll open an ice shop. Maybe. Why not? So there it is. That's the Ice Cube version 2. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I really do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to leave it a like. And if you've really loved it, don't forget to subscribe for future videos. And don't forget to check out all of the other alphas. They are all fantastic. This is Frilioth, and I'm out of here.